Well, good evening. You're very welcome to Inside Line Racing for round number 10 of ILR6 here at the Circuit of the Americas. My name is Graham, and I'm going to do my best to bring you action for tonight from a track that is famously known for great action, great side-by-side racing, overtaking opportunities, drama. It's all there at this amazing circuit, and with a title race coming right down to the wire, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what role this race plays in helping decide that. Let's get straight to it, as I believe just a few guys just setting their laps, so we'll go over the standings. Don Regib leading the way on 147 points, 9 clear of both XCI Dan and King MJ in second and third place respectively, both on 138 points, so a difference of 9 points separating Don Regib from his two contenders. The bottom line is Don Regib needs to outscore both of Dan and King MJ by 16 points to win the title today. It's an unlikely scenario given that there's 3 contenders for the title, but that is the lowdown nevertheless. So he's got a chance today, but really the big chance comes next week in the season finale, Brazil. But this obviously a critical race setting up that was sure to be a very entertaining title decider. Best of the rest is Noel Petrick. He is on 73 points, just ahead of Bastos in 5th on 69. And speaking of the constructors, Ferrari lead the way as they have done all season. I believe they can clinch today as long as they lead by 43 points, and they lead by 54 at the moment, leading Mercedes 207 to 153. So they get that done today, as long as pretty much they finish with any car in the points basically, and they should be good to go on that front. Renault are in 3rd, 145, and again a big drop off from best of the rest. Red Bull in 4th on 80. So that's the situation. Low down, the title again not really up for the grabs here, unless spectacularly both XCI Dan and King MJ somehow retire or fail to score points. So that is where things will be. Speaking of the strategy, I suppose we can get into a couple of guys have gone to the ultra softs already. Most of the field kind of look at the softs as they ease their way into this session. King MJ not wasting any time, he's on the ultras. I wonder if he'll complete a lap. See rounds. No, he does not round the final corner as he turns into the pits. A very sharp entry into this pit lane. It is definitely caught out many people, and I'm sure you'll see it across the various splits of ILR the course of this weekend, where someone is going to end up a casualty in that pit wall, because it does arrive a little bit sharper than you might imagine. So King MJ wasn't at that time, but there's always one, isn't there? There is always one. Don Regib currently in 5th, super soft. He's the only man in the top 10 really to have a venture out on supers. 33.3 for the title leader, looking to get the job done. So it looks like some guys are gearing towards ultras. Excuse me, and like you can make that work. I personally prefer a soft to super, or sorry, vice versa, a super soft to soft run, because the tires it's kind of, once you lose them here, you do lose an awful lot of time. I think you're going to really see that be reflected as Ipswich boy 131.9 on the ultras, quickest time so far, before ILRT Smudge pops in a good time, 32.9 on the soft compound tires, getting a few laps on those tires, but is immediately replaced by Lord Elephant, who does a 32.4 on the soft. So again, see some good times in from the soft runners, kind of taking that tire a few laps in, getting it up to temperature, because that is one of the big things around here in USA, is getting that tire up to temperature, which makes the undercut so important here, because this track is all about separation. You know, that's what you need to get. It's so often you see a very close first stint around this track, and then the second stint can kind of fall away in terms of gaps, and that's largely because the undercut's so important here, because it's tough to break DRS around here, so it's so important to kind of break that window. If you could break that window, you do stand yourself a great chance if your pace is kind of similar. If not, then you're kind of in trouble, and that's why kind of the undercut's so important, because it can just get you that initial jump, and it's tough. I've seen it across various races and leagues across this track, as well as personal experience racing myself, that once you have that separation, it's kind of tough to get back. It's tough to claw that back, and I've been in positions for and against. So track position is very, very important here. Getting yourself that little bit of time on the track is so important. So I think strategy is going to play a huge, huge part today, and especially if it looks like we're seeing split strategies already off the bat. So we'll see how it goes. 8.5 minutes to go. Most people have set their times. With the Gar, of course, King MJ obviously being the major one to not set time, but you can see it's quite overcast. You wouldn't be surprised with the threat of rain, but with the guys going on softs and supers, you'd imagine that there's the threat is not really there of rain, because if it was, you'd be seeing a lot more people out on ultras immediately to get some runs in. So with regards to the race, we'll see what the weather's like. I'm assuming it's going to be dry. I haven't been told otherwise, but we'll see how it goes as Noel tries to take a nice tight line in towards turn 11 before I'm winding on to what's going to be the best opportunity to overtake, more than likely. Big long DRS straight. It can be tough though. This track does offer great opportunities to race side by side, but if you're in a DRS train, it's going to be pretty tough. So if you hook up straight line speed here, and if you're prioritizing that with your setup, then again you're in good shape. If you can maintain the rest of this lap with a lower wing and just run a higher top speed, then excuse me, you're looking in pretty good shape. Regardless, it could be the difference between protecting yourself from the guys behind with DRS to losing 3-4 places. You just never know. But here comes No Petri. You want to try and take as much of that curb as possible, and across the line, and he's just starting a time. It looks like. Let's see how he takes this. Most people in the pits, so we'll go on board for a lap here. May as well head up towards the hill, towards turn wide entry. You don't really need to hit that apex too much. Certainly don't cut it, and stick it nice and tight here through the S. It's so easy to invalidate your lap. Take the curb there, sweep through. That's nice actually, and that will be a little bit too much curb on exit there. So initially you hooked it up quite nicely, but then it just got away from there at the end of the S's, which is a shame. Bastos goes quickest once again, 1:31.9, just marginally ahead of Ipswich Boy in second. So Bastos topping these times early on, but there is a lot to be said and done before the end of qualifying here. So again, most people you see on the supers now, as King MJ, he has time on supers. That's one thing I've noticed with King MJ. He kind of explores out on the softest compound, then comes in and fits in the compound he kind of wants to qualify on in the race. So that's where we're at. Where's Donald? So we're kind of all waiting, I guess, because again, you don't want to take too much out of your supers in qualifying. So it is just a matter of waiting until you get close to the end of the session, and then give yourself enough time for 2 runs, because it's easy to invalidate here, especially with the S's. Give yourself enough time for 2 runs, and then off you go. See what you can do. So I guess we're just waiting for that moment. Basically, we're at what, 3-4 minutes to go. Pop out. It's gonna be very, very busy. A couple of guys are out. ILRT smudge on fresh set of supers, getting ahead of the traffic. It seems he's gonna be one to watch. Bastos on ultras. He'll have enough time to come back in and put another set. Out he goes. MK Bourne, I think he's just starting a lap. MK Bourne actually one of the few yet to set a representative time. See what he can do heading through the S's. It's so important how you set yourself up here, and that's nice and tidy. I don't know how quick that is, but it's definitely very tidy for MK Bourne. Misses the apex a little bit there through turn, I believe it's turn 8 or turn 7 rather. As he charges now down towards turn 11. Tough complex there, 9 and 10. Especially if you're running no traction, very easy to lose the back end. And as he does there, even out of 11, MK Bourne getting a bit wiggly on exit. That'll compromise his lap somewhat, and the straight line speed, of course, setting yourself up. Oversteer out of that corner is just going to affect your straight line speed. So let's see how much he can make up for the rest of the lap. He's going to need to. As he heads down towards turn 12 and this tricky third sector. See how he takes this left-hander. Again, back in, wanted to step out as he approaches the triple right-hander. Doesn't stick maybe as tight as he needs to the right-hand side, but not a bad second to last corner. That may be too wide on exit. Let's find out as he takes a bit of curb on the exit of the final corner down towards the line. It's a 33-1. It was pretty clean to start, but it just kind of fell away pretty much from the straight, the main straight onwards, or the back straight rather. As now we're seeing more and more people on the super sauce venturing out. So here we go then. The showdown for qualifying is about to begin. ILRT Johnny jumps up to 10th on his supers. 33.1, so it's nice and tight in the midfield. There's a lot of work to be done though for Don Rajib, XCI Dan, and most of all King MJ, who needs a good qualifying here, because if he finds himself in a tough race, then all of a sudden he is the outsider of a three horse race for the title, and he needs every advantage he can get, already being 9 points behind. So he's on his lap as Lord Elephant pulls over out of the way to see what his corner is like. Takes a good bit of curb on entry there, and a lot of curb on exit, as he charges down the back straight. London's 5.5 kilometre track. Heavy break in for turn 12. Misses the apex slightly. That will affect it. Even though I might have lost a hundredth or two. As Speed Iceman retires. Very committed through turns 15. And again through the Istanbul-inspired triple right-hander dance car out of the session now as well. So let's see what this lap time is looking like for King MJ. Misses the apex slightly through turn 19. Out of turn 20. Ooh, just wants to get down the throttle a little bit earlier, didn't he? 32.7. It's a good time, but I think there's a bit more left in the locker for King MJ. Certainly left a bit of time there in the last sector, you'd have to say. So where's everyone else then? As we tick down to a minute 50 remaining. That's a lovely view of that Force India. Monkey Meg there. Was that Monkey Meg or who just crossed line? LRT Smudge. 32 flat, puts him up into third. So good lap from Smudge. In the Sauber, puts him up to the second row of the grid for now, but there is still time. Ipswich Boy, it looks like he's going to be done. He's completely peeling into the pits there. He won't improve any further. Ryan Berry is going to be yeah, he should be able to get across in time, just as Sir Lane crosses to get P6 for the time being. 32.6 for the Sol McLaren. Sol McLaren out there. So Dom Rajib just getting ready to start his lap. See if we can pick anyone up on an actual fast lap. Bastos is here on a flying set of ultras, it looks like. Ooh, it's across the grass for Smudge. Is there anyone at the end of a lap? King MJ, I think, is actually just going straight back to back. So, see what he can do. Ooh, again, Twitch out of turn 16. ERS on the limit as he got bare second to last corner. Again, just misses that apex and runs wide. Last corner, bit more curb this time. Comes across the lines. It's going to be an improvement. It is an improvement. 32.2. And again, you felt like there was a bit more left in the locker there. Again, second to last corner just seemed to be a little bit of understeer. Just not attacking that curb maybe as much as he needs to, but it's good enough for P4 at the moment. He's ahead of his title rivals for the time being. Speaking of, where are they? Dan is just coming through the first sector. I think he's actually not. Is he on a lap? His ERS mode seems to suggest otherwise. Don Rajib charging then towards the turn 11 hairpin. So he's on a lap now. So big wiggle out of that hairpin. Will compromise his lap. I think he may have yes, he has aborted it. So Don Rajib going to be starting way down in the order then. As Lord Elephant, you can see through the S section. So the checkered flag is out. And there you go. So let's try and see who we can catch. Here is your Wapmate. Could always bring a surprise in qualifying, can't he? Comes across the line. It's provisional pole position. 31.8 on supers. What a cracking lap from you Wapmate. Absolutely storms to the top of the standings. Is there anyone left who can have a go at that time? XCI Dan coming out of the penultimate corner. He needs a big qualifying lap here. There's an opportunity ahead of him if he is still on it. And he goes for 32 flat on super, so he has done himself a very good standing there to get himself ahead of his title rivals. Is there anyone else? Looks like it's kind of it, isn't it? King MG peels into the pits. Lord Elephant, it looks like he's still on a lap, so could be one last surprise yet here in USA. using all the track available to him. That's a better second to last corner. You see Nas in front of him as well. Can Northern steal a pole position at the death? Yes, he can. 31.6. Robs it at the death. No one's going to be able to top that now. ILRT Johnny's coasting into the pits. And Ryan Berry on Ultras goes 7th, 32.1. And that is your lot from qualifying. So a very much a jumbled up grid with Don Rajib left with a lot of work to do in the race from P14. We've seen him come through the field before and storm through, but this time there's a lot more importance on it, because any mistake, any piece of wing damage he may pick up could be absolutely catastrophic for his title chances. So all to play for here at Kota, with Lord Elephant taking pole position ahead of you, Mate, and then Bastos on Ultras in third. We'll round out the top three. We'll run down the rest of the grid as soon as this loading screen is done. So, Lord Elephant then, 31.6, takes pole position, Mate in second, Bastos third, Ipswich fourth, XCI Dan fifth, Smudge sixth, Ryan Berry seventh, King MJ in eighth. Actually ended up falling a good bit down the field in the end. Monkey Meg 9th, Sir Lane round to the top 10, Low Patrick in 11th, MK Bourne 12th, IRT Johnny 13th, Donald G with a lot of work to do in 14th, Speed Iceman 15th, Danscar 16th, Nas 17th, and Iceman Salah rounding out the grid in 18th place. So, predictions, if you're watching, it could go 1,000 different ways, honestly, in this one. Arguably the most important race of the season. We'll see what Dan and King MJ can do. Can they take advantage of Don Rajib's qualifying troubles from inside the top 10? Dry race, so no threat of rain. So strategies are going to play a very, very big part. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes down. Who can execute the perfect undercut. I do find lap kind of 9-10 is kind of even as soon as that. You could put on Ultras if you want to go soft to the end, but you do run the risk of them falling away a bit at the end. But you might end up getting yourself enough time to where that might not matter. So it's anyone's game. It'd be really interesting to see who kind of blinks first near the front of the title contenders, to what happens there. If you're Don Rajib, I do wonder if you just go for Ultras, or do you go for play it safe and go onto the supers, and that looks like what he has done. So away they go on the formation lap. So top 10, majority of them are on super sauce, with the exception of Bastos, Ipswich Boy, Ryan Berry and Monkey Meg on Ultras. They are the only runners on Ultras. Everyone else outside the top 10 is, let's go for the harder tyres. No Petrick, MK Bourne, Speed Iceman, Danscar, Nas, Iceman Salah, they are all on softs. Don Rajib and ILRT Johnny, the only two outside the top 10 on supers. So they're going to have a little bit of an advantage against the guys in front of them on the harder compound tyres. No, Petrick is in a really interesting spot in P11 on the softs. He's the highest soft runner. This may have worked out perfectly for him in qualifying. We'll see how it works out in the race. This strategy, it's going to be a little bit slow to start, but has all the capabilities to kind of swing back in his favour come the end of the race. It's going to be interesting to see Bastos, Ipswich, kind of what their pace is like at the front with these Ultras. Can they get a good start? It's not the longest run up to turn 1, but we saw that with Kimi Räikkönen, they didn't need a lot of time on the softer tyre to get by. So it's a very open turn 1, which invites a lot of dive bombs, a lot of incidents, so hopefully you don't see anything too wild heading up there. But it's just the nature of the corner. It's so open, it closes very late, it's quite wide. If you get a good start, it's so easy just to leave your car in and just go for it. So we'll see if anyone gets desperate. I'm sure there always is one. XCI Dan looking in a good spot though from 5th on supers. His title contenders behind him, though I suspect it might not take too long for King MJ to get closer to Dan in the top 5. We'll see what happens at the start as they now just navigate the last 2 corners of Elephant. Lord, warming up his tyres is probably the best showing from him in terms of qualifying, I believe, this season. He rounds the final corner. Good start is important for him today. There's a lot of pace behind him. We don't know what the race pace is like, but it's going to be fascinating to see how they get on now. Basically, if they can get amongst the title fight, really, because that's what they are at this stage. Everyone else they're getting involved by taking these positions, and you love to see it because they're going to have to work really hard for it. So here we go then, 28 laps, possibly the most important race of the season to set up what could be the finale in Brazil. 5 red lights, and away we go. Looks like a decent start for Uwatme. He's going to be right alongside already. He's going to be way past that Mercedes. He's going to be under pressure from Bastos and then Ipswich as well. So they're trying to file away into turn 1, a bit of contact, but they all seem to get through relatively cleanly as they head down towards the SSN for the first time. Is Uwatme leading from Lord Elephant, Bastos in third, Dan's made up a place in fourth. Oh, there's been a little bit of decent cast there between. Oh, there's more further contact, and Bastos gets picked up as well. He's got wing damage, so a little bit of Disick I think was involved, and that has sent the leaders, sent Uwatme and Bastos in all sorts of places, and thankfully we got a minute to catch my because the virtual safety car is a speed iceman's out of this race. So chaotic start, and there is a lot of penalties flying around already. I saw Uwatme picked one up as well. Ryan Berry looks like he's got one as well, so already under a VSC can give us a chance to catch our breath. Don Rajib, he's got his front wing intact, but he's still in 14th, whereas Dan is in 2nd. King MJ's made up some spots as well, so there's a bunch of penalties to look at as well as they're under the VSC. You can just see stop goes for Uwatme, Nas, Johnny and Ryan, so that's where we're at with that. So chaos. So Bastos has lost his wing. Uwatme is down in 16th with looks like a piece of his wing missing as well, and so Dan here is found himself in a very good spot early on. It looks like they get ready to go racing again. The VSC's been there for a long time. It looks like we're underway once again, so they can finally carry on. Lord Elephant leading the way ahead of Dan, Ipswich, Bastos, Ryan Berry up to 5th, getting a very good run. Of course, Bastos struggling with that wing damage. King MJ then looking to try and get by as he's past his teammate who makes a pit stop, pull him to the left hand side to try and take this Red Bull heading down towards turn 1. What's his straight line speed like? It's going to be enough to head down the inside into turn 1. It is going to look on bond with a Smudge who's got a good battle, and King MJ looking he's going to get this move done. Ryan Berry back out, no, still running side by side, and Monkey Meg's out of this race now as well. Oh, there's contact between Smudge and Ryan. That puts Ryan onto the grass and the gravel, thankfully not into the wall, but definitely big contact and a bit of a dangerous rejoin to be fair, but thankfully it didn't look like anyone else was picked up, and now he is out of this race having chosen to retire. So it's a bit of a scruffy start really from the ILR6 guys, but still a long race, still 27 laps to negotiate. There's Lord Elephant leading from 1.1 seconds from Dan in 2nd, Ipswich in 3rd, getting close to the back of that Renault. Of course he is on ultra softs, so there will be an advantage to be had in these first few laps. We'll have an interesting back here with Noel and Sir Lane. Noel trying to find a way past that McLaren, but nothing doing on that occasion. Of course, no DRS enabled. He's going to go for a lunge, is he? No, how to think about it. It's kind of a half-hearted move going towards turn 14. Still run side by side, and not the best bit of run out of turn 16. Almost made contact with the back of that McLaren. That's going to allow ILRT Johnny, is just kind of affected by the dirty air somewhat, and is running a little bit wider than he would normally like, but they're all kind of bottlenecked behind Smudge, who has to pit with that wing damage. So that's a shame for Smudge. He's running in a great spot, but will have to come in, and looks like he's got himself so down in time. So early battle, it looks like it's for P5 at the moment. Sir Lane ahead of Noel and ahead of ILRT Johnny as well. And then behind this, not too far behind this, is Don Rashid. So he has managed to negotiate kind of the early wars, at least so far, and is up to P8 already, but he has some work to do because his main rival, XCI Dan, is in P2 and is looking pretty nice at this phase of the race, but of course there's a long way to go. Yeah, a bit of a scruffy exit for Sirlane out of turns 9 and 10, and Noel Petrick trying to take advantage, ends up cutting the corner, and the penalty has already been applied. So again, you're going to see lots of these. This probably could be the deciding factor of this race, penalties. And it's all about who can keep their car composed through the S's, because if not, the penalties will rack up very, very quickly. DRS now enabled, and we're going to see a lot of penalties in this race, and a lot of penalties to side places. So see how it goes, a little bit of movement on the braking, and that's just it's all allowing Domrgy just creep a little bit closer, as they're all bottlenecked to the part of the track where it's just tough to follow. Sirlane still ahead of this group. Noel and Johnny. Sirlane got any wind damage? No, looks like he's fine. So maybe just struggling a little bit for pace so far in this early phase is Sirlane. Could have some damage, of course, that we don't know of, but already down to 15 runners. A couple of guys have made stops from Bastos downwards, so 11 downwards have made stops, so aiming the points now is looking pretty good. And in terms of position changes, there you go, a lot of changes obviously, but Lord Elephant keeping his, and luckily for him, being at the front of the train has saved his bacon, and down the inside goes Noel. Cancelling, attempt to switch back. You know, the better tyres, the super softs, but he can't quite execute it, and Noel then moves up into 5th place on the soft, so some very good progress from him early on, having started 11th. Oh, runs a little bit wide, going to allow Sirlane up inside, and his contact, and Sirlane's into the wall, and he's lost part of his wing. That was a little bit of a scruffy one from Sirlane. Probably didn't need to, well, I wouldn't say didn't need to, but the move wasn't really on in that situation. I know there is a lot of understeer from Noel, but kind of a tough one to go for in that spot, and you can't not surprised at the end result of that in the end. So Sirlane, that's a shame for him. He's lost further places then, and he's going to lose more. He's going to have to replace that front wing. So already, unfortunately, with all the incidents that we've seen, a little bit of field spread at the top. Although I have to say, even despite that, as actually Lord Elephant has lagged out. So there you go. There goes. That gives Dan the lead of this race, and that is the break he would have wanted. He does still have Ipswich Boy for close proximity, but that's the worst thing Lord Elephant needed, and he's just going to be falling places. And same time for Dan, you know, there are places being given to his title rivals as King MJ swoops by. He's already into P3, but we'll see if Lord Elephant can get back in before the rest of that little group of Noel, Johnny, Don Rajib kind of overtake him, because he has got a little bit more of a margin to those guys. But if he doesn't figure himself out quickly, then it's going to be unfortunate, because he was showing good pace and obviously qualified on pole, but again, just something, you know, something always in the way, isn't there? And so that's the unfortunate thing, and they'll just swoop by then as they go through the S's. There goes one, and the rest should follow in quick pursuit. So that's a shame for Lord Elephant. He might still have a chance to make some places back if he can get back in. But Sirlane then is out of the race in sector 3. Let's see if we can find him. He's probably in the pit lane, to be fair, and has left the session. So already we're down to 14 runners as MK Bourne gets by the Ghost of Lord Elephant. So there's that, and the rest of the guys should nip through in the points. Dan's a little bit further behind, and Bastos obviously quite a bit behind that, so he might have a chance of hanging in the points still if he can get back soon. But again, time is a wasting. Meanwhile, Don Rajib has got DRS on Johnny, but not close enough to make a move yet. Nor is that Renault any closer to making a move than that Red Bull. And Bastos is looking to have a little battle with ILRT Smudge. I think Smudge has made a mistake somewhere, because Bastos was a lot further behind, and even without DRS, look at that, he hasn't even got DRS, so there's a big mistake there somewhere for Smudge. Even with DRS, he's struggling to stay in front of that Ferrari down the inside into turn 12. Can he make the move stick? And he can, very easily in fact. So big problem there for Smudge. Not sure what it was, as Ipswich Boys into the pits already a lap 6 on his ultra soft. It's actually taken them decently far, to be fair. Now, as that says supers, he's changing a front wing as well, so this would indicate a 2-stop. So that's an interesting strategy call. He's going for the 2. I think he may be able to stretch soft to the end, but you know, if you're not sure, play it safe. Actually, you consider track evolution and the 2-stop strategy and the fresher tyres. This is probably the better strategy to be doing than extend on a 1-stop and just die on softs at the end. So probably the right decision for Ipswich. He's got a wing change now under his belt as well. See what the pace is like, see where he ends up. He's still in the points quite easily. with Bastos emerging behind him in 10th, and he's actually on soft, so he's going to try and take as far as he can, I'm assuming. If he'll go to the end, I doubt it. To go from lap 1 to the end, basically, it's not a Silverstone tyre as such with the hards, so he'll probably have to pit again, but we'll see what happens. As we'll try to cling on for some points. He's got Smudge behind him though, who hasn't really been dropped at this phase of the race quite yet. Both on pretty much similar tyres, and of course the Sauber with DRS this time around, which he activates. Nothing for Bastos to really reply with. He's got a little bit more ERS, but again it's just straight line speed. It's just going to be a killer with that DRS. Down the inside he goes. A very, very sharp approach to that turn 12 was for Smudge there, but he did get the move done, and with his helicopter shot looks like he's going to keep it for the time being. So that's Smudge back up into the points paying positions, but further up the field things got a little bit closer up here, as still no sign of Lord Elfin getting back into his car, so that's a big shame for him, as Noel picks up another penalty. Disqualification would not surprise me if somewhere along the way, because it is very easy to pick up penalties here, and well I've seen it happen in the past, people disqualified for too many penalties around this track, so it can happen. I'm sure it will for someone. As Don Rajiv continues to hunt down ILRT Johnny, he's basically in damage limitation mode, isn't he? Again, Lord Evan's still not back in his car. This is basically damage limitation run for Don Rajiv now at this stage. He's in 5th. His title rivals are in front of him, occupying the first 2 positions. And so he's losing points here no matter what, and it's going to be very, very tight. But of course a long way to go. Lap 7 of 28, 3.8 seconds is the gap at the front between Dan and King MJ. That's actually gone up a good bit. He was around 3 seconds, 3.2, but somewhere along the way he's lost around half a second or so to the Renault. So, but looking comfortable at the moment is Dan. He's safe to undercut territory as well, which is always always goes down a treat. Peace of mind, that's the word I'm looking for. It always adds a bit of peace of mind to you as well, especially around USA. But the track it's definitely gone darker around the track, as you can see Don Rajiv trying to ship up a move on ILRT Johnny. He's a little bit quicker at this phase of the race, isn't he? Just a bit more comfortable, but it's definitely darkened around the place. I wonder if there will be rain along the way. We'll find out soon enough. It's definitely gone darker though. It's straight away from the sunshine that we had at this race no more than 8 laps ago, so a stark kind of change in the conditions very early, but it might mean nothing, it might not. We'll see. But still, just look at that Don Rajiv again. You see the Renault of ILRT Johnny just not completely satisfied going through this twisty part of the track, and the exit out of this corner is so important. 9 and 10. If you're on no traction, it's tough. You are kind of erring on the side of caution, but he's done well as Johnny. He's kind of gapped, and has he gapped enough to be able to keep Don Rajiv behind him? Of course, what is helping him still is that he's got DRS himself, and that is certainly playing a big part in keeping him ahead of that Mercedes for the time being. And that's the thing for Don Rajiv, you know, you have to be really, really close to the back of whoever you're attempting to pass, because if they have DRS in front, it's going to be difficult to get the move done, and that's proven the case so far. I've no doubt Don Rajiv could go a little bit quicker than the 2 cars in front of him, but you know, it's tough to overtake when you're stuck in that train. But ILRT Johnny is kind of dancing close to the edge, 9/10 within that Red Bull in front of him. So it's, you know, if he does fall out of it, you do worry that he could easily end up falling prey to that Mercedes, and that already looks like it's going to be the case, as again he looks like he's fallen out. And who's blinked first? Is that King MJ? He's into the pits. King MJ then at the front, lap 9, peeling into the pits to put on a set of soft tyres, and now Dan has got a lap to react to that, and he should be safe into the pits. The Ferrari team go as Don Rajiv shaped the move into turn 1 on the Renault of Johnny, and there you go, job done then. Don Rajiv gets off after the Red Bull of Noel in second. So King MJ then on a set of softs, he'll come out just behind Dan's car. Will he be ahead of Ipswich Boy? He will be. He sets the fastest lap of the race. So despite that wing change, you see how close kind of he's still around his Ipswich Boy. So shows what the undercut does. Of course, we know Ipswich is on a 2-stop, so we won't be seeing it for too much longer, but a relatively decent stretch of road for KMJ to push on this lap, is getting those tyres up to temperature. How quickly can he do it? Is there much? He was basically he was over 4 seconds behind Dan, wasn't he, before he made his stop? So that's what he has to contend with, and he's actually coming into the clutches of Ipswich Boy. Of course, it has his tyres up to temperature, and we'll have DRS as well. So the last thing KMJ needs is to be behind another car, once, especially on his outlap. So let's see then. DRS open on that Force India. He's reeling him in. Is this going to be a dive? This could be actually a very important pass, because of course they might be seeing each other later on in the race. He's going to go for the dive. Oh, he almost makes contact, and KMJ has to avoid it. So a complete overcooking of the braking zone from Ipswich Boy. I can imagine from KMJ it would look like he was going to intentionally take him out, but I think he just horribly misjudged it. Thankfully, no damage to either car, and they can continue on their merry way, as Dan has decided to do. So he's not come in, at least right now, to respond to that undercut triggered by King MJ. Kind of no one is actually. They're kind of all staying out. Of course, most of the people in front of King MJ are on soft as well, being Noel, Danskar, MK Bourne. So another lap then for the two Renaults and Don Rajib on the softs, on the super softs, I should say. Looking smooth, lots of ERS to spare. I don't think he's in any immediate danger from King MJ. And again, if you do bite the bullet early and come in, you know, near the end, your tires are gonna feel it. But we'll see. It's kind of spread out, hasn't it? Although looks like Bastos coming in, a little bit of pressure from Iceman as they wind through turns 9 and 10. Back end trying to step out a little bit there out of turn 10 for the Williams. Oh, and there is rain. Oh, hello. Interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. I definitely saw some rain just now. Absolutely, it is raining. Now, will it be raining enough for it to dampen the track and just intermediates come into play? We'll see. But yeah, the weather has definitely turned. Not what I was expecting. So there you go. I guess that would that would be a good reason to stay out. But the longer they stay out on these tyres, and MJ's disconnected, there's a big moment in this race. He's going to have to try and get back in as quick as he can, because otherwise, well, Don Rajib and Exidan looking like he'll take a 2-horse race, title race to Brazil, see if he can get back in. But I wonder if I imagine he's just disconnected. I can't imagine he's just quit because he chose the wrong tyre, but we'll find out. Hopefully King MJ can get back in. But the longer this goes on, if this track is going to phase over to wet conditions, then these supers, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough old slog, because they're getting closer to their end life. He's not going to get a puncture in the next 2 laps, say, but you know, it depends how long it takes for the track to get wet enough to put on the inters, if that's where it's going. It might take 4 or 5 laps. He's still not back in his car yet, so we'll see then what Dan does at the end of this lap. It looks like it's obviously way too dry right now to put on inters. There's no doubt about that. And again, if you're ever not sure about when to pit, sector times are a great time to look at, because sometimes Jeff can come over the radio and tell you to pit and it's not the right time. So it's important to be able to judge for yourself kind of what that range is, and sector times are a good chance to. It's a good area to kind of reflect and judge if it is time to make a stop. So let's see how much slower he is at the end of this lap. He's definitely taking a bit more caution into the corner. He's already 2 seconds a lap slower at his fastest time now. You have to bear in mind obviously tyre degradation and wear. So let's see what his time is like through this first sector. You especially feel it here, to the twisting and the tight stuff, and he's still not back in his car. So easy on the throttle down. Rain's definitely getting heavier to the first sector. 8/10 down, so if you're over 2 seconds or so down the first sector, that's going to be a pretty big clue that you're going to be pitching very, very soon for intermediates. Anything over 1.5 or so, again, same kind of thing. You're getting close, because you're losing that time in, 20-30 seconds. So that's kind of what you're looking at, as Ipswich Boy on the back of Danskar for 6th place. Of course, Ipswich pitted early on from ultras onto the supers, and right now it doesn't look like a bad move, to be fair, because no matter how long this rain kind of stays, he's kind of safe. But at the way this is looking, the guys who haven't stopped I think are going to be at the advantage, because it definitely looks like we're going to be switching to wet conditions very, very soon. Wet tyres very, very soon. Wet conditions is fairly obvious. So again, lifting through the triple right-hander. Let's see if he goes way closer. Not quite. So does he come in this lap? Oh, running very, very wide. But he's not going to come in. This has to be about 4 seconds or so off the pace. Easily. 3.8. It is close. I reckon this lap will be the one to come in on. If you're way further back here, if you're Bastos, if you're Uwapmate, I think this is a good time to pit, because you've got nothing to lose, and by the time you get to the part of the track, it might be time to make the switch to the intermediate tyres. Where is Dan? He's going to come to the end. There goes Ipswich on Dan's car. A little bit of contact on the exit there, but gets the move done. 1.4 seconds now slower is Dan through the first sector. I think this will be the lap. We'll see the wet tyres out, so going to see some busy stuff in the pit lane. It's going to be unfortunate for anyone who's going to have to double stack, which means 2 Saubers, the 2 Renaults. Oh, and Johnny's off the track, spinning away through turns 9 and 10, I believe. And MK Bourne then moves up into 4th place. Very quiet race for MK Bourne, but soldiering on in 4th place. Tell you what, the guys who chose the softs are in the best spot here, because you can see at the time that no Petrick is made up on Dan, and when the crossover points, it's best to be on the hardest tyre compared to obviously a softer tyre, and he's definitely making up some time. Interesting to see what the pace is going to be like in the wet. King MJ still not back in his car, so I think this is going to be the lap that we see the change coming. And again, running wide and off the throttle as Johnny picks up a 3-second penalty. Lap 13 of 28. The rain has come, and he's decided not to pit is Dan, and Noel follows him on. So there's that indication this rain's going to clear up soon. 6.8, like if you were anywhere, yeah, 6 seconds. This is basically intermediate time, basically any time from here on out. But I don't know if the rain's set to clear, if they just have to stick it out on these conditions and it dries up, or is there more to come. But definitely we're going to see some DRS and disabled very, very soon. Johnny does make a pit stop then, so I do think the track is ready for it. Basically 7-8 seconds off the pace is generally the time. It's generally time to make that change, and so Johnny looks like he'd be the first one to take the plunge. Will he? Is he on? He's serving a penalty actually from earlier on, but he does switch on the intermediates. Out he comes. He's going to come out behind you, what mate? Or is he going to be in front? Looks like he's going to be in front. Actually, it's going to be a very good indication. So where is he? There he is. He's going to come out behind him, and we'll see what he can do. And smudges into the wall through the S's, so that's with his wing knocked off, looking not to lose a tyre, to be fair. So the conditions definitely getting trickier, and let's see what Johnny can do. Slip and slide. It's actually ahead of you, what mate? But let's see through the S's how it's looking. It's definitely getting heavier. I think it is the right time. I think he's called that to absolute perfection, has ILRT Johnny. We'll see what the rest of the field decide to do at the end of this lap. Though slipping and sliding a bit, just running a bit wide, and he's going to allow Force India through, who's also slipping and sliding. I think it's very, very tight. I do think it's time. Cutting across the track a little bit there for Johnny. Down the inside goes Uwapmate. Difficult to fight on different tyres. There's Smudge into the wall once again. So he's just losing the traction all over the place now. Let's see. So they're carrying on still. 10 seconds. 11 seconds. So it's definitely, this is definitely time for Inters. The only thing that makes sense is the rain's going to pass. That's the only thing. MK Bourne does pit though. They're losing so much time at this stage. This is well beyond the point, surely, for the wet tyres. I believe DRS has not been disabled yet, but it's only a matter of time. And look at Noel, he's right behind Dan now. Less than a second as they're tiptoeing their way. Everyone else is kind of pitting. Don Rajiv is stuck out as well. But the rest, Ipswich, MK Bourne, Danskar, Iceman, Sella, Bastos are all coming in for wets. and it's the right time. To be on the right tyre at the right time, and the right tyre right now is the intermediate tyre. Regardless of whether this rain passes, the best tyre to be on right now is the intermediate. But DRS is still enabled. You can see Noel Petrick has it in effect, and there it is, right down that straight. It is disabled. So this would have been a great chance for Don Rajiv to kind of make a judgment call and kind of come into the pits and to put on Inters as Smudge is out of this race then, because he's behind at the moment. I think this would have been the perfect undercut for him had he gone for it. But he's kind of, again, like everyone else here, the top three tiptoeing around. Everyone else is on Inters now at this stage. Did KMJ get back in? No, he didn't. So that's a shame. But at the front, well, Dan's comfortable lead has definitely been wiped away. I don't mean that as a pun, but you can see what they're trying to do to control themselves through the triple right-hander. They've waited too long for this. See how close MK Born can get up to them, as they do now. Too far back though. Dommergy pits as well, again just trying to keep on the edge. Track conditions proving very, very tricky out there, but it is time for the intermediate tyre. Everyone else is on it now on Rajib, but even to Noel, then he's missed out on some big points heading into the final race. But there's a long way to go in these conditions. We are over half distance, but in these wet conditions, actually, I'll just remember that Noel has like 3 penalties already, so he's actually not going to be a factor for this race. It's going to come down to Don Rajib and Dan. And what is their penalty situation? Not a single warning for Dan. Noel, of course, has 1-2 penalties and working on a third. Don Rajib has 2 warnings. One of those could be a collision incident. Actually, I'll just check if it's collision or if it's corner cutting. Kind of check at the top. It is corner cutting, so one more corner cutting penalty I think would give him a penalty. And so in this aspect, it's looking pretty good for Dan. But of course, he's got to keep the car pointed in the right direction, and with all 4 wheels and all bits attached to that front wheel. I'll keep it on that helicopter shot. Actually, never mind. I take it back. It's gone. So topsy-turvy race. KMG did not get back in the end, so I think we're going to be bidding goodbye to KMG as one of the title contenders. He says PSN died for him, so that's a shame for him. But I think this is where officially his title challenge is going to end, and that's weird because it looked like for the longest time KMJ was going to be clear favourite. I think after Austria he had a pretty commanding lead, and it's kind of slipped away ever since then, and it's kind of an unfortunate end to that. But his last 3 races have not been great. There's a penalty for Noel Petrick, so that just kind of cements that. Last 3 races, 6th, 5th and 4th, as both Don Rajib and Dan have won those races in between, even though Dan got a DNF initially still. But I think it's going to be officially it then. Which means it'll be a 2-horse race come the end of this race. But the winner, of course, yet to be decided, as Noel Petrick picking up the slipstream of Dan. I just can't help but wonder if Noel is quicker than Dan, and Dan should know, if he consults with his engineer Jeff, and he has that information available to him, he can consult Jeff and ask the penalty situation for the car behind. And there's no sense in Dan really fighting this too much and risking it all. Noel has got 9 seconds worth of penalties. There will probably be a 12th or 15th by the time it's all said and done. This isn't worth it. If he's ended up fighting side by side, or if he's being pressured from behind, this isn't worth it. This is not a battle worth fighting, because I don't think Noel's going to escape 9, 10, 15 seconds. His real battle is with Don Rajib, who is a comfortable 3+ seconds behind. So it's kind of a wonder if he does get close, will he let him go, or will he try fight it? And I think it'd be a mistake to try fight it. But we'll see. 11 laps to go, including the one they're on. The rest of the field sadly has spread out with the incidents that have happened. I mean, we've got 3 cars here that aren't even racing. Uwapmate is actually the last runner here in 10th, and he's a long way back. Here's Iceman Sella, Bastos, Johnny, Danskar, Ipswich, MK Bourne, and then the rest. So it has been a race of attrition. I can kind of guess, I can understand people's short fuse of this game. It's kind of, everyone's just kind of done with F1 2018, so there's not a ton left to fight for, but plenty to fight for up the top here. And again, Dan looked like he's struggling a little bit compared to Noel. He was a little bit wide, and again, just can't help but wonder if he just lets him go and lets him be on his way, he can just kind of try and cement his position on the track, and then when penalties come, they'll come back to him. But he's going to go down the inside as Noel, and Dan's going to try and fight it, so he's going to fight this one as they head up towards turn 13 and 14. And then through 15 and 16, Noel sneaks ahead, and I can't help if he's going to stay there. And Dan exits the corner behind the Red Bull, and Noel then inherits the lead of this race, but again I think it's only temporary. Still 3 seconds to Don Rajib in third, and MK Bourne is not too far behind this either, so if anything, Noel is going to be looking to get a podium here, because I'm not sure what the penalty situation for MK Bourne is, but if it is in any decent shape, he's got 1 penalty and 3 warnings somehow, or maybe just 2. Looks like it's sector 3 for nothing, so any additional penalties for Noel, and he's probably looking at a podium being taken away here. So again, it's just this consistency around for Noel. So the penalties are a real problem, but he has got through. He's definitely got the pace in the wet, and ever since the rain has come, the pace has definitely kind of geared towards him. He's got to negotiate. How much weight must this be for Dan as he laps the ghost car of King MJ, his title rival? And there you go, that's going to do it basically for his challenge officially, even if he did manage to get back into the car. So, but running a bit wide is Noel into turn 11, and Don Rashid still 2.9 seconds back. I don't know if he's pushing, I don't know if he's just kind of hold on. He has got an advantage. He may have seen that, he might not know the penalty situation completely. He might be trying to keep up, but still hanging around 3 seconds. So at this moment you would actually not take the advantage into the last race, but I guess if you can kind of hold the phone on that kind of the kind of title until we kind of get closer to the end, we're kind of still looking for something to talk about. But now there is some action going on. We've got not only Dan still within a 1 second range of Noel, we still have Bastos actually catching up to the back of Johnny for P7, and so as wayward as this race has been for Bastos, some good points still on hand, and he's close up to the back of that Renault, fairly decent time. And of course passing is one thing, overtaking is another. We'll see what he can do. See tiptoes through sector 3, getting close to the triple right-hander. Love this camera angle at the angle. Danskar picks up another penalty in 6th. Had a very quiet race, but is racking up a few penalties now, and this is all dangerous stuff for, because Johnny, Bastos, they're all kind of in this range. Iceman Sella's not too far behind either, so all to play for in the points paying positions. It's going to end up all sorts of ways. We're going to see a lot of people rising and falling when the checker flag drops, but plenty of time yet for the order to change, and plenty more time for penalties to mount. I'm sure we'll see plenty more before this is all said and done here. But if you're watching on YouTube, hey, thanks for watching. If you see, I mean, it's been an interesting race for sure, as Johnny gets a bit wiggly again. Very unstable, that car. Kind of I think you can see kind of who's kind of aimed towards a wet setup and kind of who is really struggling, and Johnny is struggling. I don't know if he's got a wet setup on per se, but he's definitely under pressure from that Ferrari, who thinks about going down. Actually, Johnny leaves in the room, to be fair. As Bastos then dips into the slipstream down the inside. Can he make the move stick? Johnny will try to switch back as MK Bourne picks up a second penalty. That's going to be costly, I think. But Bastos is through. And there you go then. So if you've missed anything what's happened here, basically Lord Elephant led early on and actually back in the car. So he actually did manage to rejoin. He led late early on, disconnected, so he's kind of where he is. Then basically King MJ disconnected from third place and has just fallen out of contention basically from there. Very slow for Johnny. He's actually peeling into the pits and cuts the corner in the process, so his wing damage, oh, he's got a 10-second penalty as well for good measure. So he's coming in. A fresh set of inters or a set of wets? It's a set of wet tyres, the full wet tyres. Interesting call. He's the first of everyone to venture onto the full wets. Now that's a bold one. The track does not seem that wet. Still looks like it's intermediate condition. Well, let's see if he can make any time on you, mate, in P9 there. That's a big gamble. He was in a decent point. I know he's got penalties up the rear, but still quite a number of points to race for, even still. Let's see if you can reel you, mate. He's 9 seconds behind. There's a ghost car in front of him. So we'll see. Might be surprised if he was making up time though. And already 9.5 seconds, 9.6, so it's only going up. 9.9, basically 10 seconds. So yeah, that's a strange one. But hey, if you don't take the risk, if you don't take the risk, you forfeit the miracle. That's the saying. Don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle, kind of thing. But still, there are calculated risks and there are ill-advised ones, and I just didn't see the upside on that one. So. But no, he's got as much time as he needs really, because King MJ here is a lap down in 11th. So nothing ventured, nothing gained, and nothing too much lost in the end, I guess. But can be considered penalties. But yeah, interesting choice to say the least. Everyone else is carrying on the inters, as Noel picks up another penalty now. So he's getting close to clearing himself out of one penalty, but his 3 other ones are going to kind of come into effect here as well. So I think Iceman Sala is catching up to the back of that Ferrari for P7. At least we have one Williams still pounding round. Let's try and deal with the ghost car of King MJ. Not the best place to do it. Navigating through the S is a difficult spot to do it, as Johnny's now 15 seconds now behind you, mate. So a bit of a flop that one, I'm afraid, but still carrying on. Despite that, worth a point in the end, as Watman picks up a penalty and his back end stepping all over the place though. So he's on his own, but certainly having a few issues as Lord Elephant begins to pick up some of the pieces now. He's no longer in last, so fair play to him for pounding around still. Anything could happen. Safety car could come along, you know. You just never know, but everyone is kind of spread out and nothing's really going on. It's just a matter of kind of waiting until the final, everyone crosses the line, and then we'll see the penalties pile up and we'll go from there. But it's kind of, yeah, this happens with the rain. It kind of just everyone kind of separates and you don't get the most entertaining race in the end. That's what happens in the wet. It's a shame around here as well. I guess even in the dry, like it was feeling, a big moment for Noel actually as he drifts through the S's. You'll have lost a good bit of time there, almost over half a second. But it was even shaping up that way even to begin with before the rain came, with all the incidents and such and disconnects and all these things, and just kind of USA usually gives us great races, but kind of this one just got away from us in a hurry it seems. But see what happens. There's still a few laps to go as the ghost of King MJ comes into the pits. I wonder what he's putting on. No set of inters it looks like. So there you go, as Johnny's into the gravel. He's technically kept it out. He's actually gone off in a place where there's plenty of runoff, so no worries about damaging the wing. But at this rate he's going to, if he carries on like this, and he needs to come in and ditch those wets and put back on a set of the intermediate tyres. In he comes. There's a car in front of him. Lord Elephant gets by King MJ then as well. He's in 11th then. So unless another person leaves, still no points in the offing for Lord Elephant. Another set of wets then for Johnny. He really is hanging his hat and dying on this hill from the wets. There he comes. And of course in P10, a long way now behind UWAP mate. Iceman Sellers charge is kind of just halted a bit. He was under 2 seconds now. He's over 2 seconds behind. Kind of not making any real progress there. And everywhere else, I think Danskar is in probably the loneliest of races. Don Rajib has left the session now, so he's disconnected, and MK Bourne's going to be coming up close behind him now. MK Bourne's got 2 penalties, so he's got to clear up a good bit of time before he would actually be track clear of Don Rajib. But a little bit of late drama possibly. Can he get back in? For the sake of the title race, I hope he gets back in and doesn't lose any positions. Although I think he is actually effectively lost P2 now, with he'll probably drop out of this range of Noel Petrick if he can't get back in soon. Here's MK Bourne bearing down on that Mercedes into turn 11. And there you go, that's MK Bourne into 3rd place then. Can Don Rajib, he's got a good bit of time between himself and Ipswich for P4. If he can get back in quick, he won't have lost too much, because MK Bourne's got penalties as well to contend with. But another lap or so and it's going to be big trouble for Don Rajib. His title hopes not slipping away, but certainly not been done any favours. And really, it all kind of disconnects aside, it all started in qualifying as well. But I guess that didn't really matter ultimately with the wets and the everything that happened in front of him. Kind of just allowed him to kind of jump up the field anyway, so I guess that's not really a relevant point. He's going to have to try though, because he's been left for dead very, very quickly. Bit of a twitch there for MK Bourne. Oh, a bit of a twitch actually, more than a twitch. As we're on lap 25 of 28. I have to say Noel's pace in the wet has been great. He's pulled away from Dan, who I don't think has too much to really fight for anyways in terms of track position. No real point, real pushing. Oh, and it's pitted Don Rajib under the Ghost. That's going to be rough. If he gets back in his car, he's going to lose more track position as this Ipswich boy sails through. And if anything, this rain is actually beginning to lighten up a bit. It's definitely getting lighter, and the track doesn't seem to be as wet as it once was. If I could Don Rajib get back into his car? No. So let me just check the lap times here at the front. So it has, it's kind of staying around the same time, to be fair. 47.4, not too far from the 47.5 Noel's been setting. Dan, same kind of story, although he actually did set his fastest lap in the wet here, not of a few laps here, and then the previous lap, lap prior rather. But yeah, this rain has definitely stopped then. So is this going to dry up then in time for a dry run to end this race, as Don Rajib still can't quite get back in his car? This is disastrous stuff. Title hopes absolutely falling away. And he still can't get back. This is turning into a disaster actually. As we begin lap 26, we'll go over the implications later if Don Rajib can't get back into his car. Can you imagine how awful those wets must be? And he is diving into the pits. Johnny was going to make contact with the wall and takes off his front wing for good measure. And there you go, that's how it happens. Luckily not, he didn't end up in the DNF. Could have easily done so. And he is retiring into the pits. And hey, that's that's why you keep racing. Lord Elephant here has just been pounding around when there's been nothing to race for, and he's going to get himself a point out of this at the end of the day. So perseverance does pay off. I can say it myself as well, that you just never know what will happen in front. And there you go, he's going to pick up a handsome point if he can keep it on the track. Lap 26, 28, still no sign of Don Rajib getting back into his Mercedes as we begin he begins lap 26, and the Force India bearing down on him quickly now as well. But I think we're going to have DRS enabled here before the end. I don't think it's going to be enough in terms of time gained with 2 laps to go. to make up all that time, making us piss off from wets to dry. But certainly a topsy-turvy race with the weather. Absolutely. As Iceman Sass just crept in within 2 seconds again of Bastos. Again, because they're kind of on the same kind of tyres, basically, because they've all been at the same time, basically. As Don Regime now in 9th place, his teammates his next target recently, like in 10th. That's how poorly it's gone. So sadly for Mercedes, it's going to end up in the constructors' bid falling a little short. But Ferrari, with Bastos at least at the wheel, they are going to emerge as champions. Even as this result, even he could retire and they'll still be champions, because they are 54 points clear at the top. And of course, with only a maximum of 43 constructors points available at each race, that's what the gap they need then to be within the final race at Brazil. And there's no way that Mercedes at this stage can outscore Ferrari by 11 points, 12 points. And Don Regime has got back into his car, so his points look like they will stand. And he has got back in, but I'm afraid it's a little too late. He might get some luck with penalties, but we'll see. As Nolan charges down the hill for the second to last time. Track is basically dry. Look at the lap times, what's been done. Look at Dan's 48.9. Again, this could be the tyres could also be high. Is this what I'm trying to say? Kota is a high deg circuit. Tyres aren't, set of supers, set of ultras. It's easy to get a puncture on them if you take them too far, and not 20 laps too far, as in like 15 or 10 or 11 or 12. So the inters, I can only imagine, aren't great by this stage of the race either. So I'm sure they're pretty poor, actually. I can imagine they're pretty poor. So I think that would be kind of why the lap times aren't as good, even though the track is basically dry. Well, I mean, not basically dry, but pretty much dry, to the point where I'm sure someone could put on themselves dry tyres if they really wanted to. But alas, no such thing for Noel as he rounds the final corner to begin his final lap of this race. He has driven very, very well from P11. Again, if it weren't for all the penalties, this would be an absolutely fantastic drive. But sadly, as we found out in Canada just gone, penalties do apply, and they will affect this final race result as things stand. But definitely done a brilliant job. Absolutely brilliant drive from Noel. I almost jinxed him, didn't I? So Don Regime is close behind you, Wattmate. He might still get him on track with the fresher tyres and on penalties, so there is still a few points left up for grabs for Don Regime. But it will be very little consolation to him. He's got a lot of work to do. Actually, let's calculate that. So what is his standing? So he's what? Going to get more than likely 4 points out of this race, which takes him to 151. Dan is going to get the full 25, it looks like, which takes him to 163. So what, 10 points? 11 points? It's going to be the advantage in favour of Dan for this final race. 151, 12 points it looks like, actually. I'm bad at maths, don't at me. But you can try and make this one on you, Wattmate, assuming 4 points, of course, if he gets by this Force India, which he will heading down the hill. Has to be careful not to avoid it, to make contact. Almost does, but does skip on through. So out of the last corner then comes the Red Bull of Noel Petrick. He has been the man on track today, but it will not be his result to savour. He crosses a line in first, but XCI Dan will come across and he will win the US Grand Prix and take one step closer and put one hand on the title for ILR6. Nolan finishes second. MK Bourne does a great job to finish third. Ipswich will come around the final corner. He will finish in fourth place. Happy enough with that result, I believe. Dan Scar's had probably the loneliest race of everyone, although he's kind of been joined for company by Bastos, who I think is going to jump him. And with Bastos crossing the line here, may not have gone right for King MJ or Don Rajib in their title run, but Ferrari will win the Constructors' title for ILR6, so congratulations to them. Basov finishes ahead of Danskar for 5th, Sauber then 6th, Iceman Sella crosses the line in 7th, Don Rajib will actually jump Iceman Sella to 7th, who finishes 8th, Wattmate finishes 9th, and Lord Elephant will finish a lap down in 10th. So that means what, 6 points for Don Rajib will put him on 153, and 25 points for Dan will put him on 163. So 10 points is the gap between Dan and Don Rajib heading into the final race in Brazil. So there you go then, that's the perfect result for Dan. He could not have envisioned both of his rivals falling out like this, but you take what you can get, and he lifts the trophy, and metaphorically he's got one hand on the title now as well. All he has to do basically is just finish ahead of Don Rajib in Brazil and not finish third basically if Don Rajib wins the race. So permutations and all can wait till next week, but that is how it's all going to be set up for the last race of ILR6 for season 5 of Inside Line Race. One more look down the classified results. No penalties for XCI. Danny wins out of Noel in 2nd, MK Bourne finishes 3rd, Ipswich in 4th, Bastos with no penalties in 5th, Danskar 6th, Don Rajib 7th with no penalties, Iceman Sala in 8th, Uwapmate 9th, and Lord Elephant then rounds out the finishers in 10th. We lost King MJ, he never got connected back in. Nas, we lost Johnny, Smudge, Sir Lane very early on, Ryan, Monkey Meg, Speed Ice, when these guys all DNF'd very early on, as the race was a little bit scrappy to begin, and unfortunately there were some casualties in the process. So that's going to do it for round number 10 of Inside Line Racing and ILR6 at Kota. Next up you can catch ILRs 4 and 5, same track. Hopefully you get a bit more action than you got in this one. For these guys, you can again check out the title finale next week. Brazil is the track, same time, 6:30. Don Rajib or XCI Dan. The advantage is with the Renault, but as you've seen from this race, anything can happen. So until next time.